Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Had to take a little bit of a road trip the other day. I got a tip from a friend that there was a place that may have had a set of brand new Caterpillar D2 track chains for sale. So when you get a tip like that, I just get in the truck and go. So long story short, he used to have a set of D2 track chains for sale, brand new, but not anymore. They came home with me. Now, these are aftermarkets. They're not authentic Caterpillar. These are on the cheaper side. If you could go to Walmart and buy a track chains, this is what you'd find right here. But now let's see, let's just their V-Track by Pacini. I think it's basically Value Part now is who deals with these things. But they're here and they're brand new. Read a lot of reviews on these things, and it sounds like for larger machines they just don't hold up. You know, the reason why track chains are cheaper is because of the metallurgy, and they're just not going to be what authentic Cat parts would be. But when it comes to D2s, there are no authentic brand new Cat track parts for these things anymore. So, you know, the reviews I've read, like I said, it sounds like the smaller machines, these have actually been holding up rather well, especially for ones that don't get a lot of hours on them. Like my D2s, you know, with the blade and everything on it, basically about a 9,000 pound machine, and I think I put, you know, guaranteed less than 20 hours a year on the thing. Some years not even that. So price was right, and I was willing to roll the dice on these things and pick them up, because at the end of the day, it's another option to keep these old machines going. Another thing I liked about these, they're all the same dimensions of the factory D2 track links, with one exception. The through holes for the track pad bolts on these chains are 9/16, whereas a factory D2 original was only 7/16. That can be dealt with. The main thing is you've got brand new links, brand new pins and bushings. That's another thing I like about these. The bushings are the same diameter as original D2. Bolt pattern is the same for all the pads, and it is the same 3-inch overall link height. You can see when I put my gauge up there, it's right on 3 inches. A lot of guys, when they've been putting new track chains on D2s, about all that's available now is D3 stuff, which I think is a little bit taller link, and I know the bushing is a little bit larger in diameter. Not so much so that it really causes a problem, so long as your sprockets are a little bit worn and the gullets between the tips of the teeth are starting to open up a little bit. D3s will fit just fine. But these are basically right down to all the same dimensions, other than that, like I said, that through bolt hole size as the factory original rails, and you can even fit the original D2 rollers on these things. Everything is it's all the same specs, so these should be pretty much a good bolt up and go option. So why am I still buying D2 undercarriage components? Well, follow me into the shed here and I'll tell you why. We'll look at old 7066, the Iron Mistress. Now, even though I got this one fixed up pretty well, it's a fairly reliable unit. It has rails on it that were just about at 100% worn when I put her all together. And if we put the gauge up to it, you can see we are at, or maybe just a skosh past, the recondition mark. Basically, that first 1/4 inch of thickness on these rails is where all the hardening is, and once you wear through that, you're down into softer metal. All your hard facing is gone, and when you get to that 100% worn recondition mark, these things run themselves out pretty fast. And you can see from the work I did on the field last summer, we're starting to hit the bottoms of those pin bosses just a little bit right here with the roller flanges, and when they get worn down to that point, things destroy themselves pretty fast. So, you know, finding good undercarriage components for these old D2s is very hard. It's probably the most difficult part of fixing one of these machines up. If we look in here a little bit more, you can see, using the gauge, not a lot of gap there on the roller, so she's got some pretty good stand-up rollers on her yet. And placing the gauge on the sprocket tooth, you can see we have some pretty stand-up sprockets. It's just that the rails are about run out on her. Pin and bushing wear is not bad. It's not good, but it's not bad. But I need to do something with these rails, and those V-Track ones, units that are in the back of the truck, I think would be pretty much direct bolt-on replacements for the worn out parts that are on the old Iron Mistress here. Transitioning to back outside now, I do have these two massive coils of D2 track pads. These are the big 20-inch wide swampers. I mean, just beautiful. And they're actually on a pretty stand-up set of rails. Height is just about 100%. Pins and bushings are not bad. And I've been kind of holding these rails in reserve, maybe to put on the old Iron Mistress there. But now that I've got those other sets of rails that I could just bolt on that one, that kind of frees me up to use these for a very special application that I've kind of been keeping in mind, if you know what I mean. Anyway, that's enough talking. Let's get these unloaded. So like I said, those are far from top quality rails, and you know, would I go and buy authentic brand new Caterpillar replacements if I had the option, regardless of how much they cost? Absolutely. For a machine that's done everything I've ever asked of it and more, money well spent. But that's not an option. So will I go and buy, well, lesser quality, cheaper equivalent parts, even though they're not nearly as good as what the original factory equipment was? Yeah, I'll do that, because it's still better than letting a otherwise good machine like that just beat itself to death on poor rails and worn out components. And when they get as bad as what's on that one, they just chew themselves up. So, and if I had to make any bets for the limited amount of hours I put on the Iron Mistress every year, those rails will likely outlive me. So don't really feel that bad about it. And it's another option. You can't do much without options. And when you're battling these old machines with obsolete parts and, you know, unavailability and all that other stuff, you do whatever you can do. And so I picked them up. It's one more route I could possibly take someday. Guys, don't ever get into the old crawlers unless you're prepared for a lifelong addiction. It can be maddening, but dang, it sure is fun. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope to see you back again.